Everybody, welcome to the Video Game Break Podcast. I'm Carl Sodola. Today I'm joined by
Sean Gubelman.
And we are here in your home. Thank you for having me in here.
No problem.
You have a very fancy place and a huge TV. We were talking about that earlier, that when you buy a big TV, you think it's huge in the beginning, and then you're like, oh, that thing?
Yep. Like 1 week later, it's just a thing.
It's just a thing in your house. So we're going to talk about video games. Is that okay?
That is reasonable. It's
reasonable.
a reasonable thing to talk about.
Okay, good. So we'd like to start these podcasts, the Hyper Turbo Super ones. Before we get to the stages, we like to talk about you, the guest, and how long you've been playing video games is a good place to start.
Awesome. Well, since I was 4, and this will belie my age, I started playing games with Shuffle Puck Cafe and Microsoft Flight Simulator on a Mac SE30.
Shuffle. What was that first one? I don't get what that was.
Broderbund Software.
I know that.
Right. So they made a bunch of Mac games in the mid '90s, early '90s, and they were black and white. And this one was what is it? Air hockey.
Oh yeah.
But with like aliens and robots and stuff. That's who you'd be playing. You're like in this weird. You're basically in the cantina from Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
And you're playing against weird creatures, but you're playing Shuffle Puck, which is air hockey.
This sounds like it's an app, or it should be an app.
Right. Well,
that
I'm sure it exists somewhere. I haven't looked it up since, but yeah, that's where I definitely, that's one of the first games I played.
That's an interesting start.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then to go to, what was after that?
Flight Simulator.
Flight Simulator.
Yeah. I mean,
two interesting beginnings.
Right. Well, my parents wouldn't let me play Wolfenstein. Or
the killing games.
Yes, the ones with the guns.
Yeah. But you know what? Flight Simulator, great, a huge influence on a lot of people. I mean, obviously, the simulator aspect.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That was a true simulator. Like we talked on our website, my buddy Alex did an article on silly simulators nowadays.
Oh, yes.
You know, like Goat Simulator and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was an actual one. So
Yes.
that's a good one to start with.
Yeah, yeah.
And then what about consoles? What was your first
first, well, so hilariously, I was, I make video games now, but at the time, video games were very not okay in my family. My first console was an NES. I had gold cartridge. This is actually a good story. I had gold cartridge Zelda. I had Skate or Die. I had the original Final Fantasy. I had so many awesome NES games. And one night, I'm with a friend, and we stayed up till 5 a.m. I was probably like 8 or 9 years old, and we stayed up until, I don't know, it must have been like 11. Anyway, we stayed up till 5 a.m. playing Super Mario Brothers 3 battle mode. And my mom found us, and the next morning it was gone.
Oh.
She gave it away.
Not even confiscated.
No, gave it away, and
oh my goodness,
all of those games,
and all of the games,
everything.
Oh my goodness,
everything was gone the next day.
Does she feel bad about it now?
No.
It's still the right decision.
Oh,
it was
man.
still the right.
Oh,
decision.
I don't bring that shit up.
Well, you did bring that shit up now.
Yeah, right. Not with my mom. But
yeah, she might not listen.
No,
to it.
She's not going to listen to the podcast. I should probably turn that off.
So what's funny about that story is that it's completely opposite of Kristen, who you know very well, Kristen Boardman, and she was on the podcast, and her family was totally the opposite.
Yep.
Insane supportive.
Yep.
And they played games together.
Yep.
She shared that story. That was pretty awesome.
And we still play games together, all of us.
Yeah.
And they love it when I bring over the Nintendo 64 with my hacked Flash ROM and play every game. And
so it should be said you guys are a couple.
Yes, yeah.
And both in the game world, which is awesome.
Indeed.
But yeah, so you were like, my other family that I can go play games with.
I know.
No offense to your current family, because they're awesome.
They're fine, yeah. I mean, awesome.
No. I'm going to edit to the point where I said they're awesome.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it.
That's good. That's great. That's great.
All right, well, let's talk about your involvement in video games, because we just alluded to that.
Yeah.
How did you get started in it?
I made my first video game in 7th grade, and it was immediately after the first time that I programmed anything. It was in a math class. They handed me, the smallest and weakest tools possible, and I turned it into a video game. They're like, draw a star with this turtle, and the turtle will move around and it'll follow your instructions. And I turned it into a horse racing game where you could bet on the horses.
Well, you even added betting. That's awesome,
right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if there weren't points, this was not a game.
Yeah. No, listen, teacher, this turtle circle thing is not working for me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
You're like off-track betting over there.
You're right. That was where I started, and then quickly after that, I made that language is called Logo. They still use it to teach programming to young students.
Is that pre-basic?
It's
after basic.
It is. Yeah. But it's a kind of a visual. It's integrated together so that you write in the application itself, you write the code, and then you also kind of set up the scene a bit.
A little Visual Basic-y.
Yes, exactly. Anyhow, so I took that. There's like limits on it, so you can only write so many lines. And I managed to write an RPG in there that was like 2 rooms big.
Nice.
Anyway, but from there, I kind of didn't consider video games as a career after a certain point. I was in school and I was in the system, and there was no programming around me anymore, and there was nothing really going on. And at one point, I had to make a decision about college, and I was either going to DigiPen, the video game college, or I was going to be a swordsmith. An apprentice at a forge in Renton.
Explain. Yeah. Explain that a little further, maybe.
So my dad is a real hippie, an honest, true hippie. He drives around in a van. He goes to convention-y type things that are, spiritual awakening things and dance groups, and he's a performance artist. And he wanted nothing more than for me to be a craftsman of some sort. Spent a lot of time doing that stuff. But he had a friend who worked at a forge, and I could have gone and been an apprentice as a swordsmith.
To become a swordsmith.
Yes. The apprentice of a swordsmith to become a swordsmith. Yes.
So instead of talking to indie developer Sean right now, I could be talking to the swordsmith.
Correct.
Sean. By the way, SNS. Swordsmith Sean.
Right. Sean.
Tongue twister. But
I don't know. I'd need a much more hipster.
It'd be like
Craftsmen and Wolves.
Or how about just the Swordsmith?
The Swordsmith.
Because I don't think I know any Swordsmith.
The Swordsmith.
Yeah, the Swordsmith.
I could change my last name.
Also, video game idea.
Oh yeah.
That is not a joke.
It's called Skyrim.
It's called Skyrim. Yeah, and we've all played it.
Oh man.
So after you decided not.
I did.
DigiPen was the choice.
Well, I decided I can be a swordsmith after I'm rich, and I just build a forge in my house, and I do it for free.
Because crazy, you get all these money, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Zuckerberg could be a swordsmith if he wants.
Definitely. Yeah. I don't know if he has that kind of ambition.
He's probably not.
Anyway,
so you did the school.
Yeah, school. So then I ended up, after school, working at Microsoft. I worked on Alan Wake, Fable 2, the Kinect launch, Kinectimals, helped out with Kinect Disneyland Adventures a little bit, and then the black mark on my amazingly glorious Metacritic scores, Kinect Star Wars.
Oh, okay. That was doomed from the beginning. I mean, come on.
I was there at the beginning. I know.
Yeah. But you know what? That totally gets erased by the first thing you said. Alan Wake.
Yeah, that's pretty rad.
It's pretty rad.
Yeah, it's pretty rad.
And especially the version that you worked on, because obviously it was in development for so long before that.
Yep.
It was almost basically a different game.
Yeah.
But the version that came out was beautiful, Twin Peaksy, and I loved it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's awesome
it was super rad to have worked on it. Another thing that's super awesome is that we got to. I was in technical test at the time. Kind of on the Microsoft publishing side. Remedy is the developer there in Finland, and Remedy hadn't done an Xbox game before, and so they didn't they didn't know about achievement design. And so we actually did the achievements.
Cool.
And it was kind of a collaborative effort between the design teams at Microsoft. And anyway,
that's awesome. So you would send them kind of info and be like, hey, we think this would be good for achievements?
Based on our play testing, people were doing really weird stuff and finding bugs, and they turned into features that turned into achievements.
I love that.
So, we were in charge of achievement quality, and so we could also provide feedback on what things should be achievements. So, like the bulldozer, there was an achievement for getting the bulldozer enemy to run over other Taken, right? Like, or what were their name? Yeah, I think it was Taken.
Taken, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so if you got X number of those enemies run over by the other enemy bulldozer, right? You clear their shields, and then they get run over by the bulldozer, then they die, and that was an achievement that just happened straight out of gameplay.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it ended up kind of a bug, but not really.
Yeah, but that's what they're calling dynamic gameplay now. Right?
Sure.
Today we talked about that.
Emergent
before.
gameplay.
Emergent and dynamic. Which again, I hate the buzzwords, but I love the concepts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And so you finished your Microsoft gig.
Yeah, and then I joined a massively multiplayer online Scrabble game. Startup.
Makes sense. It's an obvious transition.
Right. No,
yeah.
I was actually looking at working at Signal, but they were in the wrong time frame to hire anybody, so they just weren't hiring. Signal makes toy soldiers, and they're out in Bothell.
Okay.
Just a small. I wanted to leave Microsoft because my goal was to start my own company, which is what I did after the startup failed. That's what they do.
They do.
And so, about 3 years ago, I started my own company that I'm working at right now,
and it's called
Drizzly Bear.
And Drizzly Bear is because of why?
I was on a run.
I thought you were going to say something else.
No.
I was on a trip, man.
Yeah, no.
It was me and my dad.
I was right. Right.
You were like Drizzly Bear.
Yeah, it was amazing. No, I was just. I don't know why. My honestly, the inspiration behind it is that it was the first thing that came in my head, and I knew absolutely that changing your brand and changing your name does not impact the quality of your services or the followers that you already have. It only makes things better when you have, an easier brand or marketing to acquire. For new people. It only matters for new people.
Yeah.
And so I just picked something that, was kind of, it's a pun, and I love puns. And it's also drizzly, which is very much the location. We're in Seattle, and it's not rainy. It's drizzly.
Yeah.
And, recently I've been thinking about rebranding to just Drizzly.
I like Drizzly. I do like Drizzly. I mean, I like animals, so I like anything with animal in the name.
Right.
I'm okay with that. But
I mean, that's honestly it right there. It's something that I've worked with so far. Nobody really knows me, so
hey, you're on a podcast.
I know.
People
now it's
know
serious.
you now.
Now it's serious.
You're sticking with Drizzly Bear,
right?
So, what are the games you worked on as Drizzly Bear, and then the one you're working on now?
Okay, so I worked on a puzzle platformer, and it's called Little Weebo, where it's a cross between Lemmings and Batman's utility belt, is what I like to tell people.
That's a good explanation.
Instead of Lemmings, where they're all kind of separate and wandering around, and you click on them to give them jobs, they already have jobs, and they're strung along in a row. And that row... so in the game, as it was released, there are two jobs, a cannon and a rope. And if you... the cannon can fire the entire team out of itself to get up over a ledge or to cross in an arc across something like that. And the rope can attach like a ninja rope or whatever in Worms, and you can swing across things. But the whole team swings. So the point is that when you use one of these things, they go away and they have to hang out there. But you're trying to get as much of the tribe and the character Little Weebo to the exit as possible.
Weeble reminds me of Weebles.
Yes.
A little baby before your time, but
yeah,
Weeble wobbles, and they don't fall down.
They do not fall down.
They do not fall down.
They wobble.
They wobble.
They don't fall down.
It'd be weird if they fell down. Like physics on this planet would have to have changed for them to fall down. That tagline doesn't work or flow as easily.
Right.
If physics change on the planet Earth, then the Weeble will fall down. If not, the Weeble will not fall down. Some guy was like, I think that.
No, guys.
How about just Weebles wobble and they won't fall down? Okay, we'll do that.
And then in the fine print, under extreme duress.
Physics, probably, yeah. On another Earth that we are not aware of.
Yes, alternate universe.
But I love that. I mean, I love Lemmings. That was such a fun game. And we were recently just talking over beers about worms. And how much I love and miss that game.
Oh, it's such a great game.
It's not like it's gone from the planet Earth. I can go play it somewhere, but I haven't for a while.
Yeah.
And I love the concept. What that did really well is you could dig into the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And because there had been games like that since forever. Like you shoot two things at each other, projectiles.
Scorched Earth.
That
game rocked.
Yeah. It's still great, right?
Yeah.
But this concept of like going into, the planet and also physics kind of being in there, randomness with that random sheep and the banana bomb and that stuff. So I love all those types of games. I'll go back and play your Weeble Wobble game, which is not called that.
No, it's okay. It
seems cool.
The goal, I've released every game so far for free, and the goal really was to find out if this was something that people would like, because there's a high level of strategy in the game. When you have to pick the order in which you use them. And then the other half is just timing. It's skill based. You have to activate their abilities. It's one button controls. Right?
Yeah.
But so I wanted to make it as accessible as possible, but also to have a high level of later puzzle difficulty.
Yeah, I like the idea of it being a button, but also you're controlling a lot of people. So it's like you're doing one control for a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Now that's on the website, but it's also on apps as well.
Yeah. You can Android, iOS. I released it everywhere.
Okay. So you have a bunch of games on the website and also in app form. How many? 3 or 4 now?
Yeah, or so. There are a couple. A lot of them are experiments. I made some game jam games, and there's one that I started with an artist from Chicago, and that just didn't work out. The partnership didn't work out, and the game was a female satyr. And it was Metroidvania. So you're platforming, you're jumping around, and you'd have spells and abilities and stuff.
I think you tried to tell me that at the bar, but it was too loud and I didn't hear it. Because I remember you saying Metroidvania, and I just nod my head. We met at a very loud bar,
noisy bar.
Yeah. By the way, in that discussion we had when we first met, I believe that we started talking about how to save jobs in America. And then I was leaving the bar going did we just talk about the American economy? I thought we were supposed to be talking about video games and drinking. I was talking about jobs in Ohio. We really were talking about.
Yeah. Well, our friend Brett is from Ohio.
Right.
And we were just talking about industry and manufacturing in the United States. And
I think hey, I'll talk about it today too. It's just interesting that we did.
Yeah.
So the new game you're working on now is Endless... No, hold on. Don't tell me.
Okay.
It's the every book ever.
Bam. Nice.
Yes.
And you've only been to the site once.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I signed up, and I've accomplished that much.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to play very soon with you. I'll try it tonight.
Yeah.
So tell people listening what that game's about.
So the quickest explanation that I give is that it's Balderdash for books. But you are, as a player, what you're trying to do is you're trying to convince other players that your sentence is the opening sentence of this book over anyone else's sentence or the real sentence. So
wait, what's the real sentence?
Everyone gets a book, the cover of a book, and the description of that book, and then you are trying to guess the real sentence that is the first sentence of that book out of a list of everyone who you're playing with's sentence.
Got it.
And the real one.
So the real one comes from where, though?
Amazon.
Oh, it's an actual book.
Yeah, these are real actual books.
Okay, so these are all the books. That's why you say, all the books.
Every book's ever.
Every book's ever. And then you just, how do you get all that? Do you just comb Amazon?
Yeah. I mean, they have API. There's a lot of actual. Barnes and Noble has one. There's some free APIs.
Oh yeah.
There are a lot of different ways that you can hit the databases and get the book information.
So if I know the book really well, I have a much better chance at it.
But not really.
Really?
So think about this. If I don't know the book very well at all, and you know the book very well, you know what the opening sentence is, and potentially you could pick that out better than me, which is worth 1 point. But the problem is that the majority of the points come from other people guessing the sentence that you wrote, the sentence that you constructed. And if I can write a better and more convincing opening sentence than yours, which is very similar to the real one, maybe if you decided to do that, then I would get more points than you.
So it's more like who can write funner or better or more interesting.
I would say who can construct better strategically better sentences.
Interesting.
There are lots of high-level strategies surrounding capitalizing words that wouldn't normally be capitalized, like the hill, and you capitalize the and hill, or putting in random people's names, or adding accents to words. There's lots of really nuanced, interesting stuff that authors do that as players you start to pick up on. Mm-hmm. And that's really why I love the game, is there's no... even though you can directly cheat at the game by just going online and looking up what the first sentence of it is, that only nets you 1 point as a player, which doesn't do any work for you in the game.
Yeah. It safeguards it against that. Yeah. So, but then it keeps going sentence by sentence then?
No, so...
Or it doesn't?
You go to the next book.
Okay.
There are some ideas for future work with the game where you might write an opening paragraph or the opening, X number, paragraph.
Yeah.
And then it becomes more of a creative endeavor for matching the style of the author, or like the pro level writing portion of it.
Yeah. But what's interesting to me, it feels like it lends itself really well to this idea of just, jump-starting your thought process of creating stories.
Yeah, totally. I'm a way better constructor of worlds now than I was before I started playing, and it's only been around for a couple months now.
That's
right?
Awesome. Yeah.
But this regular practice of trying to make convincing sounding writing is just awesome. It's great.
It's like trying to write?
Right, exactly.
Trying to write words? Cool. Okay, well, that's where you're at now.
Yes, yeah. So.
We've got through the journey of your life.
Indeed.
Not really, but some.
Yeah.
And we do know a lot more than I knew initially about the swordsmith thing. I'm still... that's going around my head. I think you're going to become one someday.
Yeah.
As long as these games pay off. So let's do the first stage, which is... Hyper.
Okay.
You're like, yeah, we will do that.
Okay, that's
so good. I'll tell you this.
It's not like normal or like easy.
This is the hyper stage.
Okay, hyper is the first.
So there's 3 stages.
Okay.
And there's the first.
Okay, got it.
Now, what's funny is every time I say the word, I get 2 things. I get one, someone usually on the show repeats the word.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
Or they don't, and it just becomes silent like you just did.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. Got it.
No, but what's funny is that I'll edit it in, and I put these sound effects on it.
Could you edit in
uppercut? Well, now that you just did it, yeah, I guess. So hyperstage is where we talk about a game that we're hyper excited about that we're playing, or that we're hyper excited that's coming out soon, or we just saw a trailer for or something.
Sweet.
Do you want to start or me?
You.
Okay. I am prepared to talk about an indie game that I'm hyper excited about.
Okay.
So I thought that you would like that. It's called Adventurer Manager. Not the best name because it kind of breaks my mouth when I say it. Adventurer Manager.
But then so does 10 million, right?
I know, but Adventurer Manager. I don't know why. I have some notes here.
Okay.
It's an indie game I found on Steam. Just came out, I think, a few days ago, I'm pretty sure. Pretty recently. And I do know that there's already Let's Play videos on YouTube, and don't get me started on this, which I'm getting myself started.
You're starting yourself.
I'm starting.
I have nothing to do with it.
Nothing to do with it. Carlos, don't get yourself started. Okay, well, I'm going to anyhow. The thing is that, it works in some sense, but I'm an old fogey when it comes to if it's a brand new game and experience. I do not want to watch someone else play it. I want to experience it.
Yeah, you want to experience it, especially if there's story involved.
Yeah. I mean, this one's definitely more of a simulation game. You basically have a bunch of adventurers of 4 slots, and you hire them, and you get more gold, and you get weapons, and you kind of outfit these adventurers, and you send them on missions. But the interesting thing about it is it's one whole little world map. Different places open up at different times. Beginning, it's just a castle and a little town. You can go to a shop and buy some stuff. Then you send your adventurers on these missions. But it feels a very kind of simulation-y, where when you send them off, you can set it on auto, and then the guys just go into the dungeon, and then when it's done, little green checkbox. Hey, here's the outcome of what happened in that dungeon.
Right. So it's Adventure Manager. Yeah,
it's Adventurer Manager.
Adventurer Manager 2014.
Yes. And then you say like, "Oh, Jeff, the guy died," but we did get the sword, and we, completed the quest and got 30 gold or whatever. And then you can.
I know, it sounds awesome.
It sounds awesome, right? It is, and you can have 4 different parties going at once. I think because they have 4 slots at the top.
Right.
Which seems like it could get pretty hectic. Like you're sending this party over here and this party over here. It's just something that I haven't seen before, I don't think.
Is
there another game that's like that?
Sports games are like that.
Well, sports games, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
But an RPG doing that.
No. That's there have been talks. I've heard many indies speak of that.
Yeah, well, they're doing it. And they are, oh man, it's going to escape me. It's like VR something. V something Studios.
Studios? Okay.
Yeah, I'll look it up. And it'll be in the show notes, I'm sorry. Or I'll just edit that out. Because I have control over that.
I know.
Whatever I want. Actually, this podcast is only going to be 5 minutes long. And it's going to be mainly the swordsmith. Swordsmith, uppercut. Yeah, that's the whole podcast. Actually, you know what? That is the name of this podcast.
Hyper Swordsmith Uppercut. Yeah.
Which is also a great indie game name.
Yeah, it's
which
cool.
You should probably make.
All right, I'll make that game.
So this game is great, and what's also great about it is that it uses one of my favorite features that Sanctuary RPG uses. Do you know that game? Sanctuary RPG?
No.
Very cool, weird game. Old school text kind of turn-based RPG.
Yeah.
But basically, it uses the same thing that does, where there's randomness into the stories of your characters. So you all get characters in the beginning. You get one character, his name's Jeff. And his story, though, is random every time. So how he became Jeff, the swordsmith or whatever, is different than when you get him.
Right.
So mine, backstory for my Jeff was... Jeff was embarrassed of being a carrot cutter. Jeff decided to be an adventurer, which I think is great. And then also, Jeff enjoys pants. Good thing to enjoy.
It's true. Long walks on the beach.
And cookies.
Oh, cookies. Okay.
But does not like snakes.
Okay.
And then a randomized quest has the same thing. So you go on a quest.
Yes.
And they just say some random words. And so my recent quest was... Riley the penguinologist.
Yes, of course.
Of course, that's a fine art or the fine skill of penguinisms. He asked us to go to a cave and attack 173 old ladies.
God, why? But
and
what does that?
We did,
and of course. But the question then is that what did these old ladies do to the penguins that made them so angry? And have to talk to the penguinologist about this deal.
Listen, all I know is I got 30 gold from those ladies.
Oh, God.
And it was totally worth it.
Totally worth it.
Which, by the way, in retrospect, doesn't sound worth it. 173 old women.
Only some of them had gold pieces.
Yes. Not every one of them did.
Broke. Also homeless.
That's hilarious.
Homeless old ladies that have no money.
They had no gold.
No, you just beat them up. And
it wasn't like they had a percentage of gold each.
No.
30 of them had gold. Yeah. You know what? When we got 30 gold.
One of them had 20.
We could have just stopped killing the ladies.
Right.
you know what it is? It's bloodlust.
Yeah.
At that point, it's just bloodlust.
Feeding frenzy. It's just the shark mode. You just go into shark mode on those.
I never thought of it that way. That's funnier. So all that random stuff, I'm a big fan of that, and I just love that they're doing that and then mixing it in with this kind of really interesting simulation of role-playing games.
It's awesome.
So that's my pick, Adventurer Manager.
Oh man,
You have to have something.
I'm gonna have to cop out. I don't.
There is no copping out, by the way, in Hyperstage.
Okay.
You're picking something.
Okay, Destiny.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Okay.
It's got a lot of buzz. The trailer, we just put up a new trailer on our website.
I am absolutely not allowed to talk about any of my experiences in it at all.
So now you will starting now for the podcast, and go. That's right, it's the cricket sounds. So what we can talk about is, I alluded to just a second ago, we put up the trailer for the Devil's Lair Strike, which I guess is some sort of a raid, and they showed 7 minutes of it or something like that on the trailer, and we put that on our site.
It's such a gorgeous game.
Yeah.
I'm pretty happy. I've always loved Bungie's work from before Halo. Marathon and Pathways into Darkness is one of my favorite games ever. Which is, I don't know if you know that game.
I don't know the game. I'm nodding but I don't know.
That game is it's Myst plus shooter.
Whoa.
So half of the game you're solving these like weird puzzle things which give you bullets, and then you use those bullets to kill things.
That is a great combo.
It is, and the game starts at the top of this Mayan pyramid, and it works its way down into the game. Anyway, so that is what I am excited to see out of Bungie now that they are making their own stuff again. And from this trailer, it's such a gorgeous game, and very excited to see where they take it post early stages.
Well, it's a good thing to be hyper about. I think a lot of people are, and everybody I talk to says they love the combat. Okay, so that's your pick, hyper. You didn't cop out. Good on you. You picked something. Let's go to the next stage. Turbo. Whoa, the ending was just weird. It'll sound even weirder in the 8-bit
In the
sound.
8-bit, yeah.
So the Turbo Retro stage is basically, we pick an old school memory question, so a question about old school video games.
Okay.
Today is a game that you got lost in as a kid.
Okay.
A modern game would be Skyrim or something, right? You lose months of your life or something.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure people get lost in Call of Duty and things like that as well.
Yeah, well, I had that at, with the original Mass Effect as well. And I played it about a year after it came out, and just hearing positive reviews, and then I was just like, I'm going to every single planet.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah. But the game that definitely did that for me was Final Fantasy V.
Okay, interesting pick.
Which was not a U.S. release. And I was playing it in my closet on my computer.
Because you weren't supposed to? Oh my goodness, the story is getting better and better.
Yes, so I'm in the closet where my computer lives. It lives in there.
Jeez.
And I was playing Final Fantasy V on a translated ROM, emulated. Because there was there have been releases of it since, Retro, I think it was Chronicles or something like that. I don't remember. There's some pack. But that game, there's just so much in there. They have the job system, so there's basically infinite amount of playability in that game. And you could just go and trick out your characters however you wanted, and the story just, I don't know. The music still, gets me. Brings me
It reminds you of your closet.
Indeed. It does remind me of my closet.
Here's the other thing, is that the other reason why it was probably so powerful and you got lost in it is because you were in your closet playing a role-playing game. Yes. I think if I played any role-playing game in my closet, I would be in that world.
Yeah, you would be gone.
There's
nothing to come in and interrupt your jam session.
You know what you're doing?
What?
You're doing early Oculus Rift.
Nice.
That's what you're doing.
It's true. Except
I don't want anything else to encroach into my experience.
Except it's like Closulus Rift.
Closulus. We're not going to do that.
No, we're not doing that.
So that is an interesting pick. Okay, I accept that. That's totally good. I could obviously pick Zelda, Legend of Zelda, because that was one of the first ones.
Which one?
The Legend of Zelda.
The Legend.
Yeah,
yes.
The Legend.
Yes.
God,
that game is hard.
It's really hard. I definitely beat it twice. Beat the second quest. I was obsessed with that game.
Man.
And it's one of those games that, the gold cartridge and the fact that it came with this book that was pretty...
Hefty.
Nowadays, they don't even do books, But it was hefty and had a lot of anime characters, in it. And it just made me feel like I was in that little world of Zelda and Hyrule. So that's an obvious answer, but I will go with the weirder answer of Kid Icarus.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's a hard-ass game.
Yeah, no, that game is
harder, I would venture, than Zelda.
Yeah.
I don't think I beat it, which is weird, because I can't remember the ending right now, and the people listening on the podcast are like, the ending's this.
Duh.
But I do remember being so frustrated with it, but still wanting to, prove it wrong and get to the next stage. And it was a platformer, basically, but with flying a little bit, jump flying. And it wasn't even like thinking back, it wasn't even like the best game. A
lot of people love it, though.
A lot of people love it.
And strong emotions.
I think it was the time that it came out in. A lot of these games... when you're young, they speak to you at that time, and video games were still new.
There weren't very many.
Right? Oh, yeah.
I mean, Battletoads. People played the crap out of Battletoads, and that game is great because of nostalgia.
Yeah.
But after that, it's very hard.
A lot of them are really hard.
But there's also so many. There's a lot of people who play video games now just for that experience of insane difficulty level and really broken physics and broken game mechanics.
I would argue, which will get me a ton of people hating me, that the whole Dark Souls thing.
Well, that's tough.
I know it's a tough game, but to your point of. There are other games that do physics better. You can't even
absolutely.
There's so many basic things that it feels like an old school, arcadey type game.
Yeah.
And you're like, but this is an RPG, and it should be...
But the problem with this statement is that it's crafted to be that way. And those games from, Kid Icarus, original Metroid, those games were the best of their abilities. They didn't choose to have those problems. They had to have those problems because there wasn't enough performance in the machine.
And that's quite a difference.
Right. And in this case, it's crafted to serve the population who are interested in very difficult and hard games.
But you can have, that's my argument, is you can have Dark Souls and have so Dragon's Dogma, one of my favorite RPGs that no one ever talks about, and then the do DLC or the expansion for it's called Dark Arisen. It's beautiful. It's a gorgeous game too. There's an HD res pack they added to it, which I don't think anybody knows about because I didn't. When you load up the game, it comes with this option to download the HD res pack. It's fucking beautiful, and it's a great game. And you can jump. The guy can jump. He can roll. When you fight monsters, you can actually grab onto the monsters, a la Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh, interesting.
And hit them while they're running around.
Yeah.
But there's so much playability and mechanics around that world. And they can make it really ass hard, but it's fun to play, you know. And I think that's my biggest problem with Dark Souls. It's always been, sometimes I don't feel like it's me just being shitty at the game. It's like, it's being unfair, A, or B, now we're talking about Dark Souls, but unfair, A, or B, that the controls don't feel like how I would normally do things.
It's really funny, though, that you mention all that, because the game that I've put the absolute most amount of hours into of any game ever is Dota 2.
Okay.
And that game is like that. They introduce a new hero. Not new hero. They're still catching up, Dota 2. But a hero comes onto the scene as a new player, and the way that you are supposed to react to it is completely opposite of what your instincts are. A character will cast a spell on you that makes you bleed as you run. So you get this thing on you, and you're supposed to just stand there, because that's the best way to not die. But if you see the blood and you start to run, boo, you just start
bleeding more.
Yeah. And then they chase after you. They get a speed increase as you run away from them, as your health gets lower, and then they can chase you down and
That's like mechanics made for that type of gameplay that they want. They're literally pushing you in that direction.
Yeah.
And I would argue that a lot of people do it because everybody's already playing that game.
Yeah.
So you can't be like, well, fuck off, because like tournaments are around.
Yeah, well, people have been playing. Like I played in the first. I started playing Dota around 2006, 2007. When it was a mod of Warcraft 3. And then I've played League of Legends and Heroes of New Earth and, the in-between stages of games. And they're all very similar, but the truth is that they all have this super high difficulty learning curve. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how they continue to get people to play the game as new players.
Well, again, I think it's because there is that kind of install base.
There are people already, right?
Already there, and just like a Facebook, not to go into too much of a tangent, but if everybody's already at one place, you're not going to make a whole new place. Mm-hmm. I will say one more thing about that, and I think I brought this up before, but with Major League Gaming, I love it. I love that concept. I love watching that. If you haven't seen the documentary, Free to Play, it's great.
Yeah, fantastic.
So it's a great concept. I just want more genres of games in that space. Yeah. I mean, you can have platforming, tournaments, and it can totally be awesome.
What about speed runs of RPGs or Metroidvanias or something like that?
So all that stuff can happen. Here's the game that I want, and I think lends itself well. It's close. Now it's 2-player, so I know we got to get past that because a lot of these games are teams.
Yeah.
But I do want to see 2-player, 2-on-2 until tournament, right?
Street Fighter,
Heroes of Might and Magic.
Oh,
3 specifically because that's I think the best one.
Interesting.
Unbelievable game. Yeah. Spent most of my PC gaming life on that game. It's a simulation game. It's turn-based, so it's not real time, but it's definitely about planning ahead, resource management, thinking about stuff. So I think there's some similarities there.
Yeah, they might have to put a timer in for the turn-based aspect.
Definitely the timer, because that's not there now. Yeah. Because you could do games of Heroes of Might and Magic forever.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anyways, that's my plea to the world. If anybody's listening, please get Heroes of Might and Magic with a timer into
competitive play.
And I will, before we leave the turbo stage, I will say the other game I had down was a game not many people played called World Court Tennis for TurboGrafx. It was an RPG tennis game.
Wow.
Which doesn't really exist.
That sounds amazing.
And it was bad graphics, the worst graphics ever. Yeah. The little players looked like they had heels on.
Nice.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
But
it was a statement. It was an
early
statement.
But the mechanics of the tennis was amazing. Oh, awesome. I mean, top spin level. Mm-hmm. For TurboGrafx, that's crazy.
Intense. Yeah.
So I literally went in there and had to upgrade my rackets and played that world of tennis forever. So let's go to the last stage, which is Super Battle. No, that was a question at the end. All right, normally I do either 2 different topics that we just battle each other out in video game related topics, or we go to the website and we just look at on our Super Battle stage area on the page. We just refresh and pick one.
Aha.
We're doing that today.
Okay, awesome.
So we're going to have to pause. And we're pausing. Okay, so we've refreshed the page on our website, and we've got Crackdown 2 versus Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. Fun fact, Sean has worked on both of those games.
I've had interactions with both of these games at a working level.
That is weird, huh?
Yeah, it is kind of weird.
So we have to pick, and I have an easy answer, I think. Mine is Crackdown, because the idea and the simplicity of Crackdown never gets old with me. It's over-the-top superhero Grand Theft Auto. You throw cars, probably one of my favorite things to do.
That's pretty bad.
In the thumbnail on that, it shows a guy picking up a car. It's, parts broken. I think the first one was even more kind of, buggy or whatever. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem to matter. It also has the collecting orb thing, which I like collecting things, so I will just go to every single top of a building and find all the orbs.
Yep.
And then I love Banjo-Kazooie, and I know that Banjo-Kazooie is Nuts and Bolts is not even originally that game. It was another game. This is my insider information.
Yes.
And then it became Banjo-Kazooie title. This is what I hear. You can tell me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
So, and Banjo-Kazooie, I always think of the old school Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
And which I love.
Right.
Now, if it was that, it would be a harder decision for me.
So here's
so that's my
okay, got it. So we're talking about Crackdown 2, right?
Yes, I said. Did I not say? Okay.
Well, you said Crackdown, right? You did mention Crackdown 2, but when you were talking about it, you were talking about things that were common across Crackdown. Yes. Crackdown 2 brought zombies into a world of zombies. This is my Crackdown 2. Didn't need to have zombies in it.
You're 100% right there.
It had zombies in it.
Okay, I'm remembering this, and I am agreeing with you. That does suck.
The things that I love about Crackdown 2 were that you really, really feel empowered as you grew in the game. As you gained abilities and skills, you really felt like you were advancing. When you got to you would go up to this building that at the beginning of the game, you're like, what the hell? Yeah. There is absolutely no way I am getting up this building. Yep. And then you're like,
you mean
4 hours later, you're at the top of the building, and then you're like wingsuiting off of it, right?
With a car somehow.
Right, yeah. Exactly. And that felt awesome about the game. But where it really falls flat is the story portion of it. I really just didn't feel connected at all to the game. Like, not that you need to, but in GTA, which is a very strong comparison, you know characters, right?
Oh, yeah.
At least. I don't know anything about the character. I know there's like big bulgy zombies and little runny zombies, and cars had character, the ones that I threw around. But I didn't have any character, and the people around me, there's nothing really there. Okay, so now Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. I love building stuff. So do I have to pick something? Or was there?
No, you're picking, right? Are you picking Banjo-Kazooie?
I'm picking Banjo-Kazooie.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So I hadn't played the old Banjo-Kazooies until I played this Banjo-Kazooie.
Interesting, okay.
The old Banjo-Kazooies were direct Mario 64 ripoffs, right?
Like they were of this time.
Exactly. And so when I went back and I played them, they were like, these are so unoriginal compared to this newer Banjo-Kazooie game that really gets the feel of that time correct. I really felt like I was playing a Mario 64 type experience on a new console. And that made me really, really happy. And I love making things and building things.
I do love the making things. That's the only thing that swayed me on, or got me like on the fence, because I really did like making those creations in that game.
Right. And there's a puzzle solving aspect to it that I really enjoyed as well, for when you constructed the ships that actually could get past certain requirements. But in the end, it was just it's a platformer that has all of the character and excitement, and it looks great. Crackdown is very dark and dreary and kind of like boring post-apocalyptic brownness. And Banjo-Kazooie is just a very exciting and happy and awesome environment. Now, like on any given day, I might be more interested in playing one than the other. But I would say that for me, Banjo-Kazooie wins by a margin.
Okay. So I'll do a counterpoint.
Okay.
And I'll say that while I agree with you about the making things, I love that aspect of it. Really quick to your point about Banjo-Kazooie being a ripoff. Back in the day when it first came out, it was just another good game. And we were like, we were already blown away that Mario 64 existed. Mm-hmm. We're like, what are you talking about? This is possible? Having been through it,
Yeah.
And then when Banjo-Kazooie, we were like, oh, another character in that type of same world where I can run around in a 3D type thing. Mm-hmm. That's fucking awesome. So I think that's a different skewed version.
Right.
So when I was little, I was like, oh my goodness, I'll have more of that. Like,
Donkey Kong 64.
Donkey Kong 64 and Conker's Bad Fur Day, which was very interesting and weird and like farty. Yeah. But at the same time, it was that kind of world again.
It's very Earthworm Jim, too.
Oh, yeah. So that being said, I do like the aspect of building things. It did, for some reason, also people in the industry or something like that, when it came out, there was some sort of like backlash against it being a different game. Do you know anything about that? Can I say that? Can we talk about that?
I don't remember so much.
But. Someone said, I don't know, I had it from some source that because it's obviously two different types of games.
Yeah,
I mean,
merged into one.
Merged into one. So something went on there. Maybe people listening to this podcast already know that answer, and they're saying, "Of course, Carlos, it's right here. Here's the link." But I remember at the time when it came out, there was a little bit of backlash there. We were like, "Well, we just wanted kind of just a platformer in better graphics, next generation Banjo-Kazooie,"
right.
And then we got this like perplexed look, and we were like, "Oh,
how's that
I do like
work?
how that you make things, but I'm not sure why I have to." So that kind of skewed my vision there.
Yeah.
And then I'll also say to Crackdown, I feel like it's pre-Saints Row, I believe, right? Pre-Saints Row? We should probably check that.
Which one?
Crackdown 1 is pre-Saints Row.
Yeah, which Saints Row, though, is it?
Saints Row 1? Crackdown 1?
Crackdown 1, yes, is I think before.
In general, when I started playing those Crackdown games, I never cared about the story, right?
Yeah,
Which is what Saints Row picked up the torch and went with.
Right.
Like, we understand Grand Theft Auto is great and has awesome stories.
Yeah.
We're just going to give you like a crazy black hole gun.
Yeah, it's a very different game, even though, it's much more it's a platformer, right? It's a 3D platformer where Grand Theft Auto is not really a platformer at all. Right, like, and the driving in Crackdown is secondary.
Oh,
where GTA, the driving is very primary. It's all, like, lifting up a car is much more important than getting into a car and driving it around.
Which, by the way, we've mentioned lifting up cars a few times now, and I really want to play Crackdown.
now that we've
throw
talked
cars
about
off of bridges. You know, if throwing the cars thing weren't in it, I would literally go to Banjo-Kazooie like in a second. I think the cars are swaying me.
Oh man,
I was gonna go with you and just say our pick is Banjo-Kazooie because I think it is a better game. Maybe, but those puzzle mechanics are cool.
I will say this: it definitely was less rushed to get out the door.
Okay, here's what I'll do. I'm going to secede because I'm going to say you remind me of zombies, and I don't like that concept. I did have some problems with the playability being changed. I feel like in 2, a smidge.
Yeah,
something to do with aiming or something.
Yeah.
I'm being upset about that. On any given day, I would probably still want to play Crackdown more. But I'm going to go ahead and vote with you.
Okay.
We're going to pick Banjo-Kazooie.
Awesome.
It's the better game.
Yeah.
I'll do it right now. Hold on. And it'll go into the annals of time. It is chosen!
It has been chosen.
Oh, then now see, the next one comes up and you start wanting to play more.
I know. I want to do another one.
So if you go to our website, go to the top, Super Battle Stage, we are going to do these things called snapshots. So every month we have the top 10.
Nice.
Top 10 gets built every day, all day. You can vote as much as you want. But then we'll take little snapshots and we'll do something with that at some point.
Awesome.
So April's deadline is coming up in a day. Oh, no, you're hearing this after it's over. Sorry. The deadline is already passed.
Oh, no.
But May has just started.
Yeah, exactly.
So go ahead and start voting and see if you can get the game you like the best in the top 10. All right, I think that's going to do it. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Thank you.
It was fun. We met like a few days ago, and now you're on the podcast.
Yeah, you know.
As you say.
Oh, God.
What do you say? What do you say about that?
I don't know. It's just Carlos is a little loose. He's loosey goosey.
I do not subscribe to that terminology. I will say that I do love talking to people on podcasts. So
yeah,
we had a good conversation, and some of it was about saving jobs in America, but now it's about games.
Yeah.
Where can people find you on the Twitters?
At Gubester with an E, Gubester.
Can I call you the Goobster?
You may call me the Goobster.
And your website is
drizzlybear.com.
And your game that you're really excited about, that I'm excited about, I'm going to play with you.
Everybookever.com. It's in closed beta right now, but you can sign up and maybe we'll send you an email.
Hey, you can only hope.
Yeah,
but it seems like a cool concept.
We'll be doing a round of invites pretty soon. So that's actually our next step is to invite people off the waiting list.
Oh, cool. So get in now and get to writing those weird sentences.
Yeah.
And fooling your friends. All right, thanks, man. We'll see you later. Or I think I say edit point. You want to say it?
Edit point?